Okay, good morning. Um, the first question you had was about um, writing a summary for the story The Orphan Mute. And this is my summary. The story takes place in the age of romanticism when people focused on warm feelings instead of hard, strict rules. Um, the story says that there was some children and they went one day to pick strawberries. While they just before they were ready to pick the strawberries, they heard something crying. Most of the children were afraid, but one little boy named George was curious and he went looking for where the crying was and found a little girl about 6 years old. Um, and he looked at her very kindly and took her hand and made her not feel so afraid. And he took her back to the other children. They tried and tried and tried to figure out where she came from. Um, when they couldn't communicate with her, George brought her to his mother and father's house. And his mother and father were very kind people, and they thought that they couldn't communicate because maybe she belonged to a French family. But um, later, they found out that she was deaf, and they decided that she had just been left in the woods. And they decided to adopt her. Time went on, and she grew up, and George grew up, and one day George was sitting and he was reading the newspaper and he signed to the little girl that they had named Mary about a girl and a man getting married. Mom misunderstood and thought that George and Mary had fallen in love and were planning to get married. So she decided that it was time for George to go off to college and that Mary should also go to school for deaf children. But back then they called it an asylum. Um, Mary cried when George left, and she was scared when her parents took her to the asylum or the school for deaf. But when she met the principal, he was really kind and nice to her and her family. And when she met the matron, the person that takes care of the girls, the matron was really nice to her too. And then she met other girls her age, and she saw that they were signing and they could communicate with her, and it made her very happy. So that's the summary. And then, if I remember right, um, the next question was how did they portray Mary in the story? And the way they did that was they made her at first look like, um, someone to be pitied, to feel sorry for, because she couldn't communicate. Um, but then later they found out that she was very smart and eager to learn and that she had feelings just like everyone else. Um, and she became very much loved by the family because of her um, charm. Um, how uh, she behaved and socialized with people and things like that. But she really depended a lot on her brother, George. And then the third question, if I remember right, uh, I think, was why did they uh, portray Mary that way in the book, The Deaf Mute? Um, it was because that was the time of romanticism, and people focused mostly on feelings, uh, warm feelings, and not hard, strict rules. And at that time, in the 18th century and the 19th century, people just didn't understand that deaf people could communicate and that they were smart and capable of doing many things, that deaf people uh, could learn, um, they could communicate, um, and they were, just like anybody else. But at that time, they didn't understand, people didn't understand that. Today, it's a lot different because people are more open and understand that deaf people can communicate through ASL. ASL. Um, it's a very different time now than it was back then. Okay, Jesse, I hope this helps you. If you need more help, just let me know. I love you and have a good day. Bye bye.